Hey guys, hope you're doing well. Here's another ranking video. Today I'm with Dingus. I guess you're formerly Dingus the Kid on YouTube, but now I think it's just Dingus now.
Yeah.
Hopefully I have that right. And we're gonna be doing top 10 Steely Dan demos. So we talked about it for a bit, because obviously there are a lot of demos and outtakes in like the later years, like with Gaucho and and Katie Lied and other albums and whatnot. But we thought we'd just stick with like the pre-Dan demos. So this is like, if you have the Catalyst album, I'll put a picture of it somewhere here. It's like from 68 to 71, around that time, like all the really early pre-Dan demos. Some of the ones with Kenny Vance and whatnot, like those are the ones we're going to be focusing on today. Maybe we'll do the other ones in another video. I don't know, because that'd be like a whole separate list entirely. But yeah, we thought it'd be just like a cool thing to do. Number 10, I picked Undecided. Really weird because when I first saw this, I think the tape itself had Caves of Altamira on it, because on like the official Steely Dan YouTube, it says Caves, and then also there's a recording that says Android Warehouse, but they're all or it'll say like Undecided or something, but it'll be like another song. I don't know, but like it gets mixed up. So when I first heard it, I thought they didn't find a title for it. So the Undecided part was just like, it wasn't the actual song. It was just like a stand-in title. But it means a nice little tune. I could tell it would be like kind of like a late 60s like pop song, kind of like B-side thing. Do you know who's singing it? It's not Kenny Vance.
It's Keith Thomas, I believe.
Keith Thomas, okay. Yeah, it was different vibe, but it's got a great guitar solo. Pretty much like, I would say almost completed in terms of like how most of their outtakes go. Yeah, it's and I kind of like the back and forth, like I love you, go away, like I need you, please stay, and I hate you.
My number 10 is Soul Ram. It's a very fun little catchy song. The opening is really like kind of almost iconic in that, like, smaller Steely Dan sub communities like really like to, like, what's the word I'm thinking of? It's sort of like an ironic sort of thing, like like a joke meme sort of thing. Keith Thomas does the vocals on this one. They're pretty good. The subject matter is pretty funny. It's I believe it's about a woman with a Steely Dan, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they say it in the song too. So
number 9, my 10, 9, and 8 were I kind of switched them around a couple of times. Number 9, Android Warehouse. I really didn't know much about what it was about when I first heard it. To be honest, I thought like the intro chords sounded kind of simple, and I don't know, like when I first heard a bunch of these, I wasn't thinking it just sounded like, I don't want to say simple piano stuff, but because that's kind of that's like the base of how a lot of these songs kind of culminate. I listened closer to the lyrics, I'm like, oh, is it about like veterans and like, or is it about like, it's not actual androids, like I know they had like the sci-fi influence. Is it about like veterans who were, kind of like thrown aside after they come back from war, and maybe they were injured, so that somehow, I don't know, they were like seen as not androids, but I don't know, something else, and they weren't really like favored in society, or then I thought with the lines like, oh, hold my hand, the Android Warehouse, like, don't take a dive, or what was it? And then take off your goggles. Like I thought maybe like they're in an old folks home or something. And the part, that you're alive, like that part, it always cracked me up, because I could tell it was something that, even if the song's like, I don't know, somewhat serious, I could tell that Donald and Walter probably cracked themselves up singing that part. It's a little silly when you first hear it, but overall it's a nice song. It's like a very like imaginative kind of thing.
It's kind of a coincidence that my number 9 is also Android Warehouse.
Oh yeah, really?
Yeah, I like the song when it isn't the Caves of Altamira.
Yeah. That mix-up really is annoying, and it's also annoying because the YouTube, they turn off the comments, so it's like you can't really say. I mean, not that they would change it, but sorry, go on.
I personally thought the song was like some sort of like "We Live in a Society" 1984 type deal. You got lines like these are really good lines. Daytime, you're too proud to brag about the badge of war. Nighttime, you're too tired to drag your chains across the floor. And did you really gobble up the things they claimed you ate, or were you fit to swallow it, or scared to clean your plate? So beautiful, honestly. And like you were talking about, it's kind kind of funny whenever Donald and Walter are hitting the high notes during that "You're alive" part.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it kind of adds to that sort of charm of how like rudimentary it is. It's really nice song.
It really does, and they seem very like, obviously, you know, these are like demos. They're recording them with very few people around them or whatnot. They seem a lot more like vulnerable, especially like when you get to Sun Mountain and stuff like that. That's a side of Donald, but like, and Walter, I guess mainly Donald, because he's the ones, you know, doing the main vocals that we don't usually see. That's always interesting to hear. 8, I put "Don't Let Me In." I said it sounded very 60s, kind of like the Turtles. Lyrics are interesting. I see you found, I don't have lyrics in front of me, but it's like, I see you have a new friend. So it's like the person was probably like a drinker or something. Now his ex has like a new friend or whatever, a new boyfriend. And then he's like, oh, like no matter what, don't let me in. Like he knows that he has like a problem. And he's trying to like keep her safe from not letting him get too close or whatever, no matter how much I beg or my arms are extended. I don't know, whatever the lyrics were. I don't have them in front of me, but I like the guitar solo. Do you know who did it?
It might have been Denny Dias, but I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a "Don't Let Me In" a little bit higher on the list, but my number 8 is "Yellow Peril." It's a very evocative song. Like the lyrics are very super filled with imagery about Ambrose and the sea. They're also a bit cynical in that they talk about how the world has passed him by and he's now obsolete, or maybe the song is about like an AWOL soldier during World War II in Japan who comes back after it ends. I'm not really sure. It's really sort of open to interpretation, I would think, as with most Steely Dan songs. Musically, it's also a bit dramatic and builds a bit of suspense with some parts in like, you know, like he heaved his chest and pointed west. It also kind of does that with the slower pace. And it also has this like really nice but also really rough guitar solo. I'm not really sure who plays that. It's just a great song overall. I like it.
Yeah, it's funny. I have that one a little higher on my list too. Yeah, it's a good one. So number 7, I had "A Little with Sugar." Yeah, it definitely grew on me somewhat like recently in the past several months or so. Kind of nice like world building, kind of like looking back on his childhood, the character. And I did say I do kind of wish there was like towards the end, you know, where it kind of like vamps and Donald does his kind of soulful like high singing. I do kind of wish there was like some kind of instrumental part or like a solo, which, you know, it's an outtake, so they probably would have had that like eventually if they like finished it. But it goes on for a little bit without that. But I also kind of like some of the backup when they were singing "A Little with Sugar." Took the money from my old man. Since most of the songs past "Can't Buy a Thrill" is just Donald singing, and then there'll be some vocalists in the back, you know, female vocalists, and Michael McDonald. Like it's kind of nice when I hear like other like male vocals like in the mix, like singing longer passages instead of just here and there. You know what I mean? But, I mean that was kind of nice to hear.
"A Little with Sugar" was something I was planning on putting on the list, but I don't know. I would think of it as like the honorary like number 11. Yeah.
I didn't even think about that. I don't have any honorable mention. I probably should have made like I didn't even think about that. But I guess I could say it later. I don't want to. Yeah, I have probably one.
My number 7 is "Let George Do It." I believe I read in "Reelin' in the Years" by Brian Sweet that the record execs really didn't like this one, and I think that's pretty funny. You know, I think it's really good. It kind of screams proto Steely Dan with its weird cryptic lyrics. You know, you got lines like "Polaroid galore," "Snap my jelly roll and count your change," you know, Avogadro's number, the chorus, "Use your head, play cool in a patio chair." Even with the title, which is like this archaic expression of like asking someone else to do it, which is like even past its time for even like whenever the demo was made. He also got really nice vocal harmonies between Keith Thomas and Walter Becker. And it's like it has a really nice bluesy sound. And the structure is a bit strange, but you know, it's still really great. It's good as its own piece, and it's also like a good example of what's to come. You know?
So that's funny. That's my number 6. "Let George Do It." So I mean, pretty much everything you said. Yeah, it's a nice song. I love all the references, the lyrics. Jelly Roll. First thing I thought of was Jelly Roll Morton, the jazz piano player. Yeah, when they hold those lines like "Polaroid galore," Midnight Shore. Like, I don't know, those harmonies are really nice. Yeah, and the line, the piggy bank, wow, we. I don't know. It's just so stupid.
My number 6 is More to Come. It's a very simple demo, just piano and Donald Walter singing. It's a bit strange because Donald has like the lower pitch and Walter has the higher pitch, even though it would usually sound better if it was the other way around. Walter sounds especially a bit silly when he hits the high notes, but at the same time, it's very charming. And lyrically, it kind of represents of who, Donald and Walter were at the time. You got really weird, even nonsensical at times lyrics, interest in beat literature with a name drop of William Burroughs as Billy Burroughs. Like, as a whole, it's just like a really fun, catchy song. And while it's not the most polished, it just has a lot of charm. It just oozes Fagan and Becker.
So for number 5, Oh Wow, It's You Again. Good song, typical. I think it's about drugs or something. How like this, the character keeps saying like this thing keeps popping up, or maybe it's an actual person, but I don't know. I like the little piano thing they do, but that always, the first time I heard it, that was like, oh, that's kind of like a cool little like motif. The kind of back and forth with the it has this meandering quality to it that's just, I don't know, it's very kind of serene, and I guess it kind of makes sense lyrically because the thing keeps coming back and he's like, why don't you just disappear, But I like that. I think the back and forth is like kind of this cyclical thing. It's I don't know. That's a vibe I got from it.
Oh Wow, It's You Again was another song I was planning on putting on the list, but I mean, just I don't know.
There's too many of them. You can't put them all. Yeah.
Number 5 for me was Roaring of the Lamb. It's like Yellow Peril in that it's like very evocative, but this time I think it's about sort of snapshot in time of the Vietnam War from the perspective of this like everyman who's been drafted, and he's seeing like the war crimes and the dysfunction of his young comrades, which range from like high school quarterback jocks to like these introverted nerds. I forgot what the lyric was. It was like, I forgot the guy's name, and it's something like he won't share his moon pie. It's a very dramatic sounding song, and that's kind of how it just is. It's very raw and heart-wrenching. It's a bit simple since it's a demo, but I don't really think it needs to be more than that. It's just Roaring of the Lamb.
Okay. Oh yeah, number 4. Okay, Yellow Peril, number 4. Pretty much everything you said. I mean, a lot of symbolism in it and a lot of like kind of metaphors for stuff. I said it. I thought it was one of the best kind of storytelling, I guess, narrative of a lot of the demos. Very interesting. I really didn't know what to make of it when I first heard it. I was thinking like, what happened? And of course, like YouTube, so we don't want to talk about it too much. But like the line, like a finer minor from China, it's like, that's. But of course, the music box that he finds has this like, it's a modal quality in it. I should figure out what mode it actually is, but I like the solo. That's Walter, right? That's playing the guitar solo. I think.
I'm not sure.
I don't want to not put Walter down, but it's very simple solo, but it's nice. Like it fits a vibe, and it's just, I don't know. It's very clean. Yeah, there's a lot of other stuff in it that I won't get into. Yellow Peril being somewhat of a slur, which is like, the guy is like bringing the music box back home. And I couldn't tell, I guess he was bringing it home or back to the platoon where he was stationed. But yeah, it's a very like intriguing song. I really do like it. And one more thing. I like how in the line, like so bold with the gun in his hand, so bold, like the other singers will sometimes, instead of singing like harmonies for a full passage, they'll sing like one word or 2 words and kind of emphasize this word so it pops out to the listener's ear. I think that's a very interesting kind of thing to do with it. But yeah, it's good. It's good.
My number 4 is Don't Let Me In. I kind of feel the same way you feel about it. It's like just a nice little fun, not really fun, but it's like nice like blues number, It's about this guy pleading to his ex not to let him back into her life no matter what he says or does. I didn't really see the alcohol part, but definitely something that comes to mind now that you mention it. It's just it kind of reminds me of Don't Answer Me by the Alan Parsons Project, and it's like Subject Matter, except it's a lot more depressing feeling. Really nice guitar work, really good bass line. Vocal harmony between Donald and Walter during the chorus is really great, but it also kind of just sounds like it's Donald at points. But it's probably one of the most complete and Steely Dan-like out of the demos, in my opinion. And it's just really good. I like it.
Good. I think Zamari sent me his list as well. I forget if that was on the list, but number 3, You Go Where I Go. Very sweet song. I loved it the first time I heard it. I think it's very simple. It's short and sweet, simple, very uplifting kind of like vibe to it. Kind of reminds me of Any Major Dude, because of course that's like one of the main songs, one of the studio songs out of their main like discography that people say, well, it's like, a lot more positive and kind of like has good vibes compared to like some of the other like more dark subject matter they sing about. Yeah, great lyrics, simple songs, and I think funny enough, it's one of the best demos I think that can just stand on its own. And I would be very curious to see what would have come of the song if they like actually fleshed it out. You know what I mean? Because I think that charm might have been lost. I don't know. I mean, they could probably find a way to make it, But yeah, I think as it is, it's just really nice. And I think, as I've said here, they love going to the major third. Yeah, I think they like one of the end chords or whatever, which they do a lot in these outtakes. From me, my eyes don't see. Major 3. So yeah, it's good. You Go Where I Go. Great song.
All right, so for number 3, I had Old Regime. It feels simultaneously like the least and most like a Steely Dan song.
Yeah.
Like, it kind of sounds like a proto-Dan song, especially during the chorus when Donald sings, but maybe that's just because Donald is singing. Keith Thomas's lead vocals are great, and I think they fit this song really well. It has this like cynical view of the fall of monarchy from the perspective of this like self-serving everyman. Really great bass line. I think it's Walter, but I mean, not sure, but I mean, who else would have done it? Either way, it's great. Great guitar work. I really love this one specific line, "Deal me in and do your preaching." It's just like really good. And okay, the bridge, it feels a bit short and is a bit silly, Now I'll drive in 4-wheel drive. And the ending is a bit abrupt, but other than that, it's a great song. I like it.
So number 2, it's an outtake, even though it's an actual song, but I guess this counts. But yeah, Brooklyn is number 2. Very slow compared to the studio version. It's interesting because when they played it live in '74, some of those were like pretty fast. I feel like maybe faster than they should be, but so I guess in comparison, like I definitely prefer the slower tempo. Lyrics are pretty much all the same except for that one, "My century trembles, he feels the end is coming, his face is scowling, inside he's on his knees. If looks and dreams could surely kill, he'd long be gone from here." Century being a soldier. Yeah, it's very interesting. And of course, like, the whole thing that happened with Amy Mann this summer, she's going to tour with them, and then, all that whole kind of thing happened, and she got, I guess, replaced by Snarky Puppy or whatever on the tour. Anyway, yeah, there's a video on YouTube with her at the concert talking about how like Donald sent her an email about what the song's about, and it was about this guy that used to live under Donald Walter in Brooklyn, who was like, I guess, just drinking, day drinking and stuff, and would have these like ramblings about the city. But these are all things that like that guy was saying about the city, or including stuff that he like thought he deserved in life, or wish had, wish he had, I guess, been better at doing this or this or this. And maybe, I don't know, as much as I really do like David Palmer's vocals on it, I think this one really fits with Donald. The one on the album is good with David Palmer, nothing wrong with that, but yeah, this outtake with Donald singing it is just really nice. Definitely one of my favorite of all the outtakes.
Yeah, I agree. I really like the demo of Brooklyn. It's very raw, sort of. And I agree with you that it fits a bit better with Donald on the vocals. So for my number 2, I have Stone Piano. It's like a more downbeat, pessimistic version of Any World, in that, it's about this loser who longs to escape his normal life. it's very somber and it's very raw. Like a lot of these demos I like, it's because they're really raw, which is like unexpected from Steely Dan. You know how like clean and smooth the production is, massive instrument variety, and here it's just a piano and is that a hi-hat just by itself? I think, I'm not sure.
I think so.
It's just very raw. You know, again, Donald Walter, really nice vocal harmony during the chorus. It's definitely something that feels really heartfelt. And this is the demo I really come back to the most. I listen to this one every so often, and you know, I just really like it. It's just stone piano. I'm not the biggest fan of the alternate version with like a more complete band, sort of. Since it kind of takes away from that rawness of the original, but you know, it's pretty good. But like demo, yeah, that's definitely my number 2.
Yeah, it's good. Again, all these songs that I wasn't thinking about that could definitely be in my honorable mentions. So number 1, Sun Mountain and Donald's version. I like the Kenny Vance one. When I first heard it, I heard the Kenny Vance one, and I heard like, oh, it has like a complete, like, you know, it's a lot more complete with the drum part and then the bass part. I believe so. But then I heard Donald's, and the first thing I was like, oh, I wish his was more complete. Like, why couldn't it have been him? But like you said about the whole rawness of it, just him and the piano, it's so, something about it that's just so, like, I don't know, different from anything like we hear in the studio versions. I mean, of course, that the vulnerability of that is just, I don't know, it's something else. And the lyrics are great. Again, kind of happy, like reflecting on a not so good time. And they also does this chordal change. The last where he says there in the dark I found Sun Mountain, like the last 2 times in the song, there's a chordal change before the last time he sings it in his version that isn't in the Kenny Vance version.
There in the dark I found Sun Mountain. There in the dark I found Sun Mountain.
It was just a nice kind of thing that's like, you know, their later kind of like harmonic escapades is kind of like poking in with this one early thing. I really like it a lot. And of course, Donald's voice echoing in the end, kind of fading out when he sings. Da, 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 da. Really nice. Really nice. Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't really thinking about Sun Mountain when I made this list, but like I think I need to re-listen to it again.
It's good, man. It's good.
Yeah. Okay, so my number 1 is Brain Tap Shuffle. It's a very fun and catchy sort of party song. Both like in its sound, it's just like really upbeat, fun sounding kind of. And it's also like lyrically fun because it's a song detailing like a dance, but it's also kind of this sort of cynical view of escapism. You know, the opening line, "Take the worst of this whoop-de world," I think is what he says. I'm not sure. Roll it up in a ball, and it's like, you know, party instead of thinking about whatever is going on in the world. If it's like, you know, Donald and Walter sing together throughout the majority of the song, and it's, you know, it's really wonderful, really great vocal harmony, very tasty guitar licks, nice piano work, backing vocals a bit strange, but they kind of add on to that party factor, and it's kind of memeable in the Knuckle Sandwich Reel version where they go peas-wah at the end. I think it's pretty funny. I think the goal with this one was to make a catchy pop song to sell off, but at the same time, it has its own like quirks and twists to it that make it, you know, really unique.
There's a nice variety there between like the demos that they have that are just very raw, like Sun Mountain, and then like songs like Brain Tap Shuffle or A Little with Sugar, like the more fleshed out ones. Yeah, it's very interesting. But yeah, I guess that's it. I mean, so you know, anyone watching, of course, I hope that you have already heard these demos, or if not, we'll immediately go to look up Steely Dan pre-Dan demos. There's definitely a lot of them online under many different album names. So you have no problem finding them. But yeah, it's good. Anything else you'd want to add?
I mean, not really. I mean, I just want to say like, thank you for asking me to do this with you. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's good, man. That's good. Yeah, definitely we'll do more rankings in the future. So, okay,
Yeah.
cool. All right, cool. All right, peace. I'm gonna just end the recording.